Super. So today I'm delighted to be joined by Jo Garland. Jo's journey includes carving her customer and CX career at leading retailers, including Waitrose, John Lewis, and more recently Asda, as the Senior Director of Omnichannel Customer Support. And Jo has recently joined Concentrix and Webhelp as a Senior Account Director. Jo has been recognised through many awards for transformation, large-scale leadership and coaching, and was listed in the Customer Experience Foundation Power 100. Jo's dedicated to understanding the needs of her customers, leading large-scale change, but she's also a passionate advocate for her people, their development, and she champions the careers offered throughout customer functions. She's also just returned from what sounds like a fabulous trip to Spain and a yoga retreat. Jo, welcome. How are you?
Oh, hi, Michelle. Thank you for having me on as a guest. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Feeling quite relaxed after my 3 days in Spain on my yoga retreat, which was lovely and quite a far cry from the weather we've got here at the moment.
Yeah,
sitting around in 25-degree heat. It's very different to what we've got now.
Sounds lovely and idyllic. So are you happy to sort of get into it or get started with the questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Fab.
Fire away.
So, I mean, picking up on your recent move, Jo, and sort of leaving Asda and joining Concentrix and Webhelp, and congratulations again. I mean, do you have any tips, would you say, on how to make an immediate impact in a new role and or sector?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it is challenging, I think, to join any other business, particularly one going through quite a lot of change at the moment with the combination of Concentrix and Webhelp. There's quite a lot going on, and also to learn a new role, being very experienced in contact centres, but it is completely different on the supplier to the client side. So I think my first top tip would really be to really seek to understand, how does a business operate, who makes the decisions, how are decisions made, what are the priorities, so all that really good stuff before making any decisions yourself, because I feel you do have a really unique perspective as a newcomer. When you join a business, you see things through fresh eyes, but you haven't got that context, you haven't got that history, and that's super important. And I think related to this, you have to get involved, you have to really understand. So, I've been attending every meeting I can, I've met all the stakeholders, I've been in training groups, I've been listening to calls, so really kind of getting properly absorbed in both my clients' world and the world of Concentrix and Webhelp. And this has allowed me to build a plan, which also includes those great quick wins. And this is probably my next tip, would be to use your experience and the insight through listening to be able to build your plan, and those quick wins as well at the same time. And something I've employed for every new job I've had, even if you haven't got the knowledge and the skills, with all of the knowledge and the skills required, it's super important to use what you have got in your toolbox. So I've spent time working with my team around leadership development, and embedding reflective practice as a team, and all the things I know that I can do now and feel like I add value. That is really important on a personal level, as well as adding value to the business in that new role.
Yeah, great points and tips there. And I love the things that you say, because whilst you are learning and listening, you can also be doing as well, can't you? And sort of, as you say, making those quick wins, and don't forget about what it is that you do know, that you've been hired for a certain skill set. And whilst you can learn and pick up on other things, you can also see perhaps opportunities, can't you, from immediately, really. There's no such thing as where a great idea comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's work in progress. And I think, doing the things that you've already got experience in just makes you feel better as well when you're in that new role, when you're still learning. Yeah, that's super important.
Brilliant, great. So I've had the pleasure of seeing you present several times, and you always talk really passionately about change, and you've been through huge transformational programs and led those as well. And you sometimes you've talked, about the engagement element and how important that is as well.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you think the companies go wrong, Jo, when they are looking at transformation and or change programs?
Yeah, I just think when change to me and transformation is all about engaging the people that are going to go through that change and the customers along the way. And I just think, a lot of places get this right. A lot of organisations do some really great stuff, but I think it does feel like it's quite common to think that, like great events for employees, gifts and awards can create engagement. But what I've found really kind of elevates engagement, but also more importantly sustains it, is not around the branded gifts and the things you receive through the post. It's around that the job itself. Does that provide real challenge? Has it got enough variety? What are the team dynamics? Do the team really understand what their expectations are? Do they really feel they're on an equal footing with each other? Which is even more important in a hybrid world. We got people at home, people in the office, and communication. Do we really feel that the employees have got a voice to make things different, and that the organisation will take action? And then, but most importantly, for me, it's around leadership. The leadership has such a massive impact on engagement and the success of change. It's inextricably linked with culture of an organisation, and the leaders, in my mind, do play a massive part in setting that culture. That they build the teams, they provide the support, they provide the autonomy. So that is huge, and I'm not sure the importance of the leader and development is really recognised through some of the training courses and development programs that organisations put on. All too often you see these amazing programs that are really fantastic, but where is the ROI on those programs, and how much of that is practiced when they get back doing their day job? A lot of those training courses, great things are learned and then not put back into the day-to-day running. So for me, it's around really understanding what drives engagement in the organisation beyond that kind of extrinsic kind of gifts, but then understanding the role of the leader and ensuring the processes in place develop that leadership for the future and create that culture of psychological safety, autonomy, to really get the engagement up to a level and then sustain it. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, fantastic. And again, there's loads in there and some really sort of clear points. And it's just so true, isn't it? I think, like you say, the gifts are so easy, but it does get the energy up, doesn't it? And it is nice. And it's sort of, but then everyone does all the hard work. And, as you say, you hear all the time, oh, we were given a whole day out for training and what have you. And then they go back to the operation and that's it. You do know what I mean? As you say, where are the people, the whole business? If they were all sort of getting involved and, a little bit of communication here and there, and everyone's on the same journey for these return on investment targets and challenges and changes, has so much more impact over a much longer sustainable period, doesn't it, Jo?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think, business processes need to be able to allow leaders to create that engagement, not just train them in what they should be doing, but the processes need to be able to allow them to give variety in a role, or allow them to delegate to the lowest possible level. Sometimes the meetings have got very senior people in, where the people that understand the detail are people that perhaps are not at the most senior level. So how can the organisation really begin to flex that to really inspire people and be engaged in their roles on a day-to-day basis?
Do you think there's just maybe one question at the start of a big program or change initiative that someone could maybe ask, and we could embed it into, every change design, if you like? Do you think there's something missing, like what are we aiming for type of thing, or, who needs to take part in this every single week type, that sort of thing,
Absolutely. Who is best placed to do this part of the task? I think there's a real need to look at who's got the right skills and be flexible. But sometimes business processes are complex, and
Mm.
it's harder to do something very flexibly than do something how we've always done it with the people at the same level in the same meeting. So it's hard, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be striving to do that.
To do it, yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, you know that we talk a lot about diversity. Obviously, you're a successful female leader. Do you have any tips and advice to businesses, or about helping, you know, more diverse talent choose them and then thrive in their businesses?
Yeah, I mean, another great question, Michelle. And I think, I truly believe that a diverse population or a diverse workforce brings better business outcomes. You get that diversity of thought, diversity of ways of doing things. We don't just go for the same answer, or the same outcome every time. But I think organisations, there's a real need to consider the entire employee life cycle,
Mm.
about how, not just how we attract, but how we nurture that diverse thinking throughout somebody's career. So I just think, of some of the job descriptions on job adverts I see, and some of them are, job descriptions that are cut and paste from internal organisation, material, and I don't think that's great all the time. People don't understand that, and particularly if you're not in that world. I love the adverts that say, if you don't think you've got all the necessary skills, don't worry, we still want to hear from you. And also, what does an actual day look like in the role? I've seen some great videos, actually, particularly on LinkedIn, about people really trying to explain what a day looks like. So to attract people that perhaps have got a auditory preference, really different learning preferences. And attraction is just one part of it. I think there's a real need for organisations to have processes in place that nurture that different way of operating, that people's having difference. For example, I had a great session last week with my insight analyst, giving me a rundown of my Power BI system, all the reports I need to look at. I was doing it on sharing my screen. Now, that worked so much better for me, as I learned through doing, than getting a PowerPoint pack with step-by-step guides. So I think we need to really recognise that people learn differently, people are different, and get processes that nurture that, so we get the best outcome from the diverse workforce.
Yeah, some really great points, and please don't get me started on adverts, job adverts. My goodness, what a load of rubbish most of them are, And I think there is that complacency, with a lot of businesses and brands, certainly bigger brands or well-known brands. It's sort of like, yeah, but we've got the brand. Just put the brand out there. Nothing else matters. People will come, but they may well be attracting people, as in numbers, but as you said, they're not attracting probably the people that they need. And those people, it's not like they're not seeing the adverts. They are seeing them and going, well, what have you got for me? You're not interesting me. You're not talking to me. And so they don't apply. And I think that happens in the workforce, doesn't it? I mean, if we look at the lower level, sometimes we've got really diverse workforces at the lower level. And certainly in the contact centres, the entry point is anybody, isn't it? Anyone is free to apply and will thrive. We'll come on to that. But when they join, then we don't sort of nurture them, as you say, in terms of this is what we can do for you. And each team leader or manager, surely their jobs are to help these individuals thrive as much as, survive and do the role.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just so important. Absolutely vital.
Okay, fab. And so, I mean, if we look at diverse female aspirational leaders, what would you think, what advice would you give to them about making a corporate career work for them, if it is what they want to do, so that we don't lose them, at these crucial junctures in their development?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I look back at my career and really reflect on, the advice, but what advice would I give myself 20 years ago? I think it boils down to three really key things. The most important thing for me was just to take every opportunity. Take every opportunity to learn that new skill, to take that role. And basically to get out of your comfort zone. I remember back to my first experience within a contact centre, and I was asked to go and cover the Waitrose contact centre for 6 months, not having any experience in that. And and I went for it, and that carved my career path. So you never know what's going to happen. So taking that opportunity, I think building your network, so your internal network within your organisation, and also externally, and it's really important. And I do this. I build genuine connections. So try and be really I don't know, really generous with your time and generous with your support of others, because there will be definitely a mutual benefit. And so for me, that is, I get inspired by meeting different people. You get great insights and have some great conversations. And sometimes there's no designed outcome for that conversation, but that's not what's important. It's about building those connections, because there will be an outcome at some point. It's investing in it long term. And then finally, I think the importance of getting yourself a mentor. That is so important. I've had the privilege of having a number of brilliant mentors throughout my career, many of whom are still really, really good friends. And then choosing somebody who you is aspirational, but also is quite different to you, to get to challenge you and get you to think in a different way. And then also to be a mentor, because you get so much out of that relationship from the other way around. So those are the three things that I would really focus on if I was starting again.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And again, I think in all of your question responses, the thing that sort of comes through, the common theme is, you're just not afraid to take those chances, to have a go, to make those conversations start happening. And I think too many of us hold ourselves back, don't we? Like what we don't know all the time, oh, I daren't do that. What if I look silly? Or what if someone's looking at me? That, but everybody's in the same situation, isn't it? It's that fake it till you make it. But you'll be surprised at how much back you get back from it, won't you?
Absolutely. It's just so important. You just got to go for it. You've just got to go for it. The majority of people want to help. And if you reach out to somebody and say, I really like what you do with this, or have you got any advice on this, the vast majority of people will come back and answer you and support you if they've got the time. And you've just got to do it, because you never know where it might lead.
Yeah, fantastic. So, we know that we've talked about sharing this passion for the promotion of the customer contact centre as a career choice, do you want to talk a little bit more about that as well, Jo?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super passionate about this, because I just think there's so many opportunities within the contact centre to build a really fulfilling career where you can learn so many skills. And I just don't think it's widely recognised as a place, an aspirational career journey. People in our industry love working in the industry. Many of them have worked their way up from the phones and reached kind of executive level. And if people have ventured on into different industries, they've learned some, real transferable skills. I've spoken to quite a few people who started in the contact centres and they're now directors of learning for different businesses. So it's got so much potential. Not only does it open doors to, you can travel internationally if you're in the BPO space, but also people that I talk to have lived and worked abroad, had children abroad, got married abroad. It just opens up all your horizons. But I think for me, it's around the important part is attracting people at an early stage. So how can the industry join together to really pull people in, university leavers, school leavers, or people who come into the contact centre for a part-time job and then really build a career. Within Concentrix and Webhelp, we run an amazing graduate training program that looks at training people into account management, into other specialist functions like consulting. And in previous organisations I've worked in, really leveraged that apprenticeship levy to look at like level 3 customer service training, level 4 leadership training. So I think there's lots of ways that we can advertise what a career can do, but I think more people within the industry need to talk about it more, and really begin to, bang the drum that it is a great industry to work in, because it is, we're both in it still, aren't we? So after a long time, it's definitely a great industry to build a career in.
Yeah, and as you say, I mean, I speak to so many people like you, and like you say, so many of them have come from the ground up, even from like a retail customer service perspective, not even just the contact centers, but you get to see such a wide array of business issues, and you understand the customer, and you learn so many skills because, communication and the ability to do what a customer contact representatives do, is critical for every walk of life, isn't it? For anything that you do in life. Yet all we see is like negative press about it, and people hear, negative about the sort of, the targets and, the environment and stuff. But as you say, I think we've really got to do something collectively as an organization to do more about how positive and what a great career it does. Because, certainly when you look at younger people, not just them, but there's a lot of there's a lot of sentiment that there isn't a future, things are getting more difficult, there's no job for me, etc., etc. But you can progress through the ranks really quickly, can't you? And you can soon be in sort of the top 10% of earners in sort of 5 or 10 years with a, doing the right thing. What would you say, Jo?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much potential. And I think if you look at, there's not many industries that you could go around and work in quality and training, L&D, MI, planning. They are key skills. And if you put yourself out there, if you've got the right attitude, the right skills, you can progress. Because I think one thing I've learned with being contact centres, we love to promote internally, and really nurture that talent from the ground up. And I think that's just fantastic. There's not many people I've spoken to who've built a long-term career within the contact centre industry that haven't been in it for a very long time. So if they can do it, people that join in the industry now can as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And even all the new advancements, the digital, the automation, the AI, analytics, data, all of these, they're all fields that are so intrinsically linked, aren't they, to sort of customer operations and a customer career, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
right.
and there is concern that, will AI take all of the jobs, and, but I think, there will be change in the next 5 to 10 years. Absolutely. But the jobs that will be left will be super specialists. So, you need to be handle, emotionally complex calls. You have to make decisions. So yes, all of the monotonous work will probably be gone, but that builds even better, more interesting jobs and careers for the people that are in the industry.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Great. So is there anything else that you would like to add, Jo?
No, I think it's been a really great conversation. I mean, it's just to reiterate the point that we absolutely, as an industry, need to promote, the customer service industry as a career choice at all levels. And I think we can do that more with, more things like this, more positive reinforcement, and showcasing the amazing professionals that form part of our industry day in, day out. So I think that is, for me, that's super important.
Brilliant. Well, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your sort of learnings. Thank you, Jo.
Thanks, Michelle. See you soon.
Bye.